Welcome to the SAHMA Exchange, a podcast where policy, people, and property management meet. For today's episode, we're taking you inside the 2026 SAHMA Leadership Affordable Housing Conference and Trade Show in Biloxi, Mississippi, for a live recording of the Cocktails and Compliance Remix session. Affordable housing professionals are navigating a lot right now, changing regulations, evolving compliance requirements, new technology, and the everyday realities of managing properties and serving residents. This session brought those issues to the table for an open, interactive conversation about some of the hottest topics facing the industry today. Moderating the conversation is Rue Fox, Affordable Industry Principal at ResMan. She's joined by panelists Sara Hinson, Senior Vice President of Platform Operations and Business Unit Management at Inhabit, Corbin DuMont, Senior Project Manager, and Jenny DeSilva, CEO and President of DeSilva Housing Group. Together, they share their perspectives, experiences, and practical insights on the issues affordable housing professionals are dealing with every day. And because this conversation was recorded live at the conference, just a quick reminder, you'll hear questions and comments from professionals in the room and maybe a little conference background noise along the way. So let's head to Biloxi and join the conversation. Here's Cocktails and Compliance Remix 2026.
Hi, y'all. How's everybody doing? Thanks for joining us. We're so excited to be back here. It's one of our favorite conferences, and this is one of our favorite sessions. I have some really smart people that are on my panel today, so that's lucky for y'all that y'all don't have to listen to me for the most part. I've got Jenny DeSilva with DeSilva Housing Group, and she's going to have sessions throughout the conference. I have Sara Hinson with ResMan. And Sara is also going to be facilitating a session on cybersecurity that's probably going to be pretty important for you guys. It's on Wednesday. And then Corbin DuMont is also with ResMan. So the interesting thing about this year is legislatively and regulatory wise, there hasn't a whole lot of stuff happening. It's been kind of quiet. In most sectors of the industry. So we're going to start out and we're going to let Jenny talk a little bit about HOTMA in 26. We're not going to beat it to death because we know that it's kind of been beat to death, but we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it at all.
So I'm a betting lady, and maybe there's some of you out there that are as well. So venture to guess, how many of you all think HOTMA implementation is not going to stick with January 1, 27? It is not gonna happen.
Okay.
So I'm not a spokesperson for HUD. Let me make that abundantly clear. But we are aware that a notice regarding the delay of the implementation deadline has been circulating department clearance for about 7 weeks now. So the hot potato game has begun. But if it is approved as written, the proposed deadline extension would be to, can anyone guess? January 28th, but this is not an official announcement.
27.
Yes. So we'll drink to that.
3027.
That would be a reasonable timeline based on where we are right now for implementation, with no spec, no MAC guide, and no approved forms. So that's probably about all we need to talk about NOTMA. Right?
That's right. Okay. So, Corbin, anything going on? Is any with a show of hands? How many of you have RD? Cool. Corbin, we want to talk about anything that's going on with the USDA?
Just from what I'm hearing, a lot of delays. It's hard to reach people. We were anticipating a new version of the certification form, but that has been put on hold. So we have any official software kind of related things to go with that, but more or less, obviously, they have implemented HOTMA. So it's been pretty much, kind of the norm.
Show of hands, how many of you guys are layered with either HUD and LIHTC or HUD, LIHTC, and RD? Okay. And those of you that have LIHTC that have implemented HOTMA and still have a pulse. There's hope for
There's
us HUD
no one
stars.
raising their hands at this point.
Have a drink.
We have one.
You live to tell their story.
That's right. And I think with LIHTC, it's been pretty calm this year because most everybody's got HOTMA implemented and actually made several changes to their ticks and things. So that's probably just going to continue kind of down the road as it is, right? Anything crazy going on there? All right. So I know that the 21st Century Road to Housing Act was approved. And I'm going to let Sara talk to us about some things, and then Jenny's going to chime in on there as well.
All right. 21st Century Housing Act. This is something that is actually happy news for us in affordable housing.
Amazing.
For some stuff. So there actually is a huge focus coming from this bill that did pass on July 11th. Sorry. It did pass just on July 11th. So there's some major takeaways from this act that would affect everybody in this room. So there's 5 of them. One, that there's going to be more funding capacity and increase. All right. So they're actually in this law, it increased funding for the FHA loans and limits and gives more room to HUD and FHA support, more acquisitions and rehabs and more developments. I think my mic's going out here, but that's good news. So that means that developers, people that are looking for assets, owner operators, this actually opens up a more funding streams for them. What this also means for different housing authorities. Can you all hear me? Different housing authorities.
Sometimes.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Different housing authorities that we're going to see a large influx of affordable housing growing and growing really fast. There's a huge focus on it. So you're going to see a lot of owner operators that have never dealt in the affordable space starting to come in really quickly because it's how they're going to be able to make their deals pencil. The home program. Anybody in this room work on home program? Ooh, I see a few hands. So home in this new law that just passed in July 11th, home actually is expanding the range of households and projects. So this actually can benefit more home housing in more funding. So when they're coming up for refi, different things. So very exciting news, more money there. So we all could use a little bit more money. The third big piece is that they removed some of the first blocks that the Housing Authority has been campaigning against that makes building affordable housing more expensive. So actually releasing some of the regulations on the materials you have to use, making sure it's actually more affordable to actually build the deal. So that way, again, developers can pencil it a little bit better, not having to use such expensive materials and different things. And then they also released some of the permitting. So some of the permits that are required to be able to have your renovations or to build, they actually relaxed some of those laws. So if that's important to you, it's a really great to kind of dig into this new 21st century and see those because this will actually help you speed up getting your renovations done and lightening up some of those new builds. If you're trying to get some of that permitting passed, it's actually lightens. The last piece is going to be the PHA. So this one does tighten the belt a little bit for some of you in this room. So there's some PHA oversight that will face more transparency. So they're going to be kind of focused really on PHA. And there's a big pilot program that's just launched. And so in that pilot program, it is temperature sensors within these apartment communities that actually helps the federal government see and assist in heating and cooling, how efficient or how quickly you're heating or cooling. So this is a really great area for you to be able to leverage and help you technology standpoint to watch some of these new laws that are coming out. So they're even paddling down to your AC units, your smart thermostats. So those are some of the fun updates. I know, Jenny, you have some additional ones that are even, so I'll pass it to you.
So I think the biggest one from the multifamily perspective was the increase in the allocation of units for RAD conversions. They increased another 100,000 units. How many of you guys have done a component one public housing to PBRA RAD conversion? Okay. I think that those have been going on for about 10 to 12 years now, but the benefits, some of those earliest converters are now seeing kind of the benefits of having done that conversion. And while some of them were slower to accumulate, just those OCAF adjustments. And so I think the sexiness of a RAD conversion is definitely something that's being talked about in the PIH circles a little bit more, and we're glad to see that increase in units. We're also seeing, some interest in the RAD for PRAC potential conversions too. We've seen some of those already close and be successful on the 202 side, but there is already a waiting list for individuals that might be eligible or interested in a PRAC conversion on the 811 side. So stay tuned for that. But that was probably the biggest takeaway for me, just from a HUD perspective for that particular legislation.
And I think to kind of piggyback off what you said, it's going to really open up this space. So in this room, in the next 2 years, you will see affordable housing of all the different components, home, LIHTC, RAD. You're going to see that double in size and space really quickly. And so you're going to find a lot of new faces sitting even in this room come in a year from now, because the funding for conventional has really slowed down. But the way that they're going to pick this up, and the education is going to be key in order to get the new affordable operators up to speed on these different laws, because there's such a huge focus and a lightening of the laws and regulations and permitting. You're going to have new people coming into this space really, really quickly. So just kind of heads up.
I know, Stacey Day, I'm not trying to call you out, but just curious.
But she's
since you're
totally
sitting in the
calling you out.
audience,
Take a
'cause,
drink.
You always like to talk too. So you have to get out on that road to housing at all for LIHTC or anything?
Turn it on helps. When we talk about companies that are going to be entering the arena, and we've already seen this where there are a lot of conventional management companies that are, getting deals that are close to year 30, right? And we've all been through that, where they're just sort of like, what do you mean maximum rents? I don't believe in that. We're going to charge fees everywhere we can. And so it is, when I hear that being said, it definitely scares me a little, because there is sort of that, like, let's just plow ahead because we can, right? And so I think that we all need to be mindful of that and make sure, SAHMA does a great job of providing training, but even today we were talking about, like, what is that entry level? What does this really mean? And we do see, even at the operating level, regionals that are coming in without the experience, and they're creating non-compliance from the start. And so I think it's going to be really important that those things don't happen. I think a lot of state agencies have things built in with experience points and things like that. But there is other affordable housing too, that may not be tax credit, but it still has that affordable component. We've seen this like in Texas, where there's the PFC funds, and that became major news because people were not doing what they were supposed to be doing. And it gives a bad name to the programs in general. I think we all work way too hard, like, to have something like that happen. So I think, hopefully we'll just be able to brainwash them into the affordable housing world, right? I don't know if that's a word.
Well, and with these deals, when you're seeing more and more layered funding mechanisms, you might have an owner that knows his shop is familiar with the LIHTC world, and And in order to get that LIHTC deal, they have to do an 811 PRA, and then you've got a rack layered on it. And what does that mean for the boots on the ground folks? Is that whether they knew it or not, they just dove into the deep end of HUD, and they have to know HUD just as well for 6 units on an 811 as they do if they were a 600 unit PBRA contract. The HUD compliance is almost 100% exactly the same. So from a training, operations, policy perspective, that's a whole new investment in your staff just to benefit from getting that layered LIHTC deal.
And I think also if owners could have, and I'm sure I'm preaching here, but so often we find that owners don't even realize they have this other funding, right? Just somewhere along the line they picked it up.
After closing, they
you're like 100 units into a lease up, and they're like, hey, did we mention that everyone has to have an income below a certain number? So, like getting on board with these discussions ahead of time and really making sure everybody understands all the pieces that are fitting in.
I have a question for the room too. Is there anybody in here that's really running a true mixed portfolio of conventional and affordable, and now suddenly finding themselves with conventional properties that have these new funding sources? We're seeing it a lot, and we're real active at NAA, and one of their big concerns is, just like what we're talking about here, is that they don't realize what they've gotten themselves into, and there is definitely a lack of training going on there. And so if anybody is in that situation where you guys are involved with affordable housing but have some conventionals, if you're involved in your local conventional associations, please encourage them. I know that these associations, our AHMAs, our industry trainers, they're a great source of knowledge for those people. And we really need to kind of work to form partnerships to get that training going.
I think it goes back, Rue, to you don't know what you don't know. And
Right.
what we hear outside of the affordable conferences is, we have affordable and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, have you checked out the AHMAs? They're amazing. So I think it's really making sure that you've got that voice out there to kind of bring them into the fold, and it's going to quadruple. So the challenges, the findings, the different things that you're seeing right now, the influx of new associates that have no idea what affordable even means or what they got themselves into, is going to tremendously speed up whether we like it or not. So the quicker you get out there and get messaging out there that, hey, we are affordable housing and we are here to help and help get you up to speed quickly, the bigger and better this messaging is going to be, and the less we're going to be hitting our heads against the wall.
Great. Anybody have anything they want to comment on that? Did I see Gates raising her hand? No? Okay. Just making sure. You're just waving.
Maybe she needs to drink to that.
Cheers. Everybody have a drink. We have extra drinks over here, so please have as much cocktail as you would like. We're gonna talk just pretty briefly. I know that there's a new look for EIV and secure systems. Jenny, Corbin, either one of y'all want to talk about that just for a minute?
Yeah, so it hasn't been consistently deployed, I don't think, but many of you probably, if you've reloaded your URL in the last week, have noticed a pretty current century picture of some houses and the sign in for HUD Secure Systems. If you're logging in on a saved favorite, old school 1980s look for Secure Systems, but that login is the first phase of a deployment that's also going to include two-factor authentication. So I know we're all excited about getting the text for the code.
I love two-factor authentication. Let's do it more.
Let's get to that.
Yeah, let's do it.
They are working towards that. So I know nobody in the room would ever share their MID.
It's so much fun.
But nonetheless, it's going to include that added layer. So, but everything else functionality wise remains the same. You still have to use Firefox if you want to do participant assignment maintenance in secure systems. That's only been an issue for a year now, but we have not figured out the browser issues with that as well. So, but just stay tuned for pretty pictures when you sign in to Trax or EIV, but otherwise functionality remains the same.
All right. So the word React mentioned a little bit in the earlier session. I feel like this is a really kind of a general audience question. I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't kind of talk anything about it. Does anybody seeing anything going on with React, or general stuff? Everything kind of calmed down?
When you say React, are you talking about Inspire or are you talking about the React help desk?
Really? Why are you quizzing me on that? What if I
'Cause
just
that's two very different answers.
Okay, so if I say, I'll just say, should I say Inspire?
Yes.
Okay. Does that change everybody? Do I have arm races out there with Inspire?
I think the biggest thing with Inspire right now that everybody's seeing out in the marketplace is going to be the actual Inspire agents being trained on the new policy. I just read a stat that more than 78% of the agents are still actually inspecting today off of the old knowledge they know, but the new guidance they have. So do not be afraid with these Reacts or the Inspire inspections, as they should be called, that you are submitting your notice to actually do your campaign against what they're saying, because it's not only they might be, most of the inspection agents are going off of the old data, not the new. So you want to make sure that you are challenging some of these findings or what you're finding. And it is also, the other big thing around it is going to be more exterior focus than interior focus. So make sure when you're going through that you're kind of paying attention. We need to get them trained quickly.
But functionality wise, are you guys seeing an improvement in the Salesforce, the actual platform for uploading your pictures one by one and your certifications? Accessing it, but pulling down your reports after inspection?
Oh.
Just you're still having access issues.
It is still amazing to me that they're using a piece of software that has cells in the name. It is that is always amazing to me to see how many people use Salesforce in ways that it probably really was not ever truly intended for. So that's just a comment, just an observation. It may be popular or unpopular, I don't know.
So on the React help desk
It's a
side,
CRM. It has a CRM tool.
right, but I was just going to answer the general consensus as to how the industry is weathering the transition of staff that were making up the React help desk. So you guys know every few years HUD has to procure the call center folks that man the React help desk. And traditionally, when they've transitioned to a new call center vendor, they've kept some of the more tenured staff just to help facilitate some continuity in getting the new staff trained up. They did not do that with this vendor, so it was a completely new crop of individuals that historically don't have HUD housing experience. They're call center staff, and they got thrown into a situation where they didn't really have anyone who had experience answering the calls. We're speaking a new language to them when we call. We're typically not happy when we call. And if you go off script, it's like a hot potato immediately that gets thrown around. And, we've had horror stories where people said, they didn't get called back, or they finally waited 20 minutes and then the line hung up on them, or, I'd like to say that that's going to get better. Probably by the time it gets better, they'll be re-procuring for the new group to come in. But you just have to kind of document your attempts, particularly if you don't get an issue resolved in a manner that might come back and impact you during an MOR or whatnot. Documentation of your attempts goes a little bit in terms of getting some sympathy from your auditor. But there's also other services in the industry, people that can help you with secure systems issues. Patience is a virtue.
Oh, we got a hand up out there.
Talking about the help with the secure systems and all that, here recently I've probably had 3 or 4 managers or people within our organization that have had to call track or call EIB because we can't get logged in. We've been getting emails that people have been logged out due to inactivity when they were in it 2 days before. And we're on hold for 2 and 3 hours and no one answers. And no one answers your email. We even have a coordinator that couldn't get their, I think it was, what was it, Ron, your, reauthorization terms for 2 or 3 months. So what are we supposed to do?
I could tell you what I did. I wrote to my AE and she wrote to somebody and all of a sudden they answered.
I was going to say, typically you escalate that up. Find your AE, hire a consulting firm that can actually wiggle their way through and consult and get you higher up into the organization, but also getting embedded into the local association, PAC associations. You actually can have a voice directly with them to let them know how frustrated everybody is with it. And that's some of the things that I'm championing for and working on for you too.
I'll be glad to give you my contact information.
Actually have a session at today's at the conference on how to navigate through secure systems and address some of these frustrating situations too. So see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
All right. Anybody else have any comments on that? Or we are going to move along to something that's kind of been on my mind a lot lately. And we were actually, it kind of came up in the session before. And it's probably going to surprise you when I say electronic forms and signatures. But, you know, it's a security risk when you're storing boxes of forms at the property, in a storage area, wherever you may be storing those. It is also a security risk when you decide you're going to scan those documents in and send them just to somebody via email. There are ways to be more secure, but I think probably the biggest thing in this is, you know, we fought to get electronic documents approved with the agencies, and that was a really big victory once that started happening. But what I see in kind of my day-to-day work is I see a lot of people who are very hesitant to start using them. And I don't know, I suspect that most of the software products out there that you're using come with form storage. And so I'm curious to see, show of hands, are you using electronic documents? Are you still nervous about electronic documents? What's holding you back from using them if you are not? Anybody using them all the time? Wow.
How many of you guys have ever had a flood, a fire, a tornado, hurricane destroy your tenant files and you had to recreate them? Okay. Or a disgruntled employee?
That one's probably the biggest one in this room.
I bet nobody in here has had a disgruntled employee though, so it probably does not pertain.
Okay, question. How many in here, raise your hands, are using paper files only? Don't be shy. It's okay.
Don't be shy.
Don't be
We
shy.
just-
If you are, have a drink.
You probably
There we go.
You probably need a couple of those.
Yeah.
So, aside from the security issue that could potentially be with still using your paper forms, it also can help with efficiency. But I think a lot of the hesitation is that it's quite frankly overwhelming and a little bit about where do I even start. And so we've kind of just started suggesting, look, with your document storage, with your software, you should just be able to maybe scan in copies of driver's license and pay stubs and put them in that resident file. And so that is very easy then to get to when you're looking for something. Or maybe just scan your verification letters in and upload them. And then it makes it really nice when you realize that you need to go search for something. And the only thing you have to do to go search for it is pull up that employee file in your software system. And somewhere in that file, you should be able to have a storage area for your documents. And it's so much easier than having to go and dig through boxes, maybe even go off site to storage if it's, that old of a document. It just makes your life so much easier and it's so much more secure. And I keep talking about security. Again, there's a big session on security on Wednesday morning. And so we as software vendors, and I'm talking just industry wide, right? We've all worked very hard to make these forms available for you and to put them out there for you. And we really want you to be able to take advantage of them. So just think about it that way and start easy. You don't have to go upload 700 pages of some residence file that's lived there for 15 years. Just do it easy, get used to it. And I really do think it would make your life a whole lot easier.
If I could add a little bit to that.
Sure.
It's a great segue into who's not using any AI in their properties.
Oh my God, you just stole my next talking
I know.
point.
I saw your notes. But who is implementing some type of AI in their processes? From a software perspective, from a product manager's perspective, I'm apprehensive of it. I know there's a lot there. Like it's coming at us so quickly. The panel we just had earlier, the cautions involved, but at the same time, like we're there. As much as we probably don't want it to move that quickly, like we're there. And I would say that as we're talking about document storage, we're talking about processes and making life easier. Utilize or start looking for utilizing tools within your organization to help your day-to-day work. One of the things just comes to mind, just onboarding processes, management changeover. Like every conference that I'm going to now, we're always talking about AI and its usefulness. Heavily cautious on the security side of things, but also being proactive in looking at where can I utilize this tool to help my day-to-day business. And like you're saying, there's a great opportunity, document storage, obviously making sure that it's secure and making sure that the files are easily accessible, but being able to utilize AI in a way that can help your processing. I think instead of trying to be so scared about it, take it a little bit steps here and there, I think will make life a lot easier.
Here.
So I think to kind of piggyback Corbin too and Rue is having the electronic documents and thinking through the AI piece. It's important to make sure that you're protecting your resident files, which is the ultimate goal. Whether you have them locked in a filing cabinet somewhere, hopefully not just sitting out throughout the whole office randomly in massive stacks, right? We all know what on-site looks like. Making sure that scanned in and think of all the extra free space you would have in your office. But it actually really secures the residents' data and that PII data way faster, much more secure than just a random file that eventually may get thrown in the trash, have an employee that can access that social security number or driver's license number. It actually protects all that. But I think it's use AI with a cautionary tool. You don't want to have your teams or your compliance officers logging into ChatGPT and asking it rules or regulations saying, hey, Susie Bob in unit 101 makes X amount of income and what housing group should I put her in? Or, asking certain questions of that to make sure that you are protecting that. As an addition, make sure your teams, if you are going to leverage any type of AI functionality, that it's within your company's user browser, not a free account, not their own account, because guess what? You now have violated all that PII data. So you want to make sure it's lumped into your 365 or anything of that nature.
All right. So I really was kind of delaying the conversation for AI until the end because I feel like there's a lot of stuff to say about it, and it's obviously a huge conversation all over the industry. But what's really interesting to me is I have with me a really interesting article that I pulled down out of AHF or Affordable Housing Finance, and it is talking about the state of AI and affordable housing. my first number to quote is from this report. It says 91% of affordable operators have implemented AI. How many people raised their hands in this room? That was not a 91% hand raise in this room. So
Let's redo this Jenny style, okay? How many of you all use AI? How many of you all don't use AI? How many of you all didn't raise your hand?
So what I think that means is sometimes you're using AI and you may not really know it. But I also think that there is another piece to that, right? And look, AI is everywhere, and it doesn't have to be just embedded in your software platform, right? There are other places out there. Now, there's some great tools in the software, and I definitely think you should take advantage of them. I'm sure everybody's using probably some reporting things within their software, and that's awesome. You can ask it anything, and it just pulls it right up for you. But as my team goes through their day-to-day, I think everybody knows I'm kind of a salesperson, not really, but kind of. As my team goes through their day-to-day business, we have conversations all day long with prospective customers and always learning about their business. And we have made it a practice, and we use Teams. And included within Teams is a version of Copilot that is available to you, and it is secure inside your company channel. So it's not going to go out there and tell all the world everything that you're feeding into it internally like that. And we use it every day, and we use it in calls, and it records, and we upload transcripts, and it comes back and it gives us really good information about things we could have done better, things that are probably a good way for us to sell the software. And so it really has helped us learn. By the way, I didn't even know until a little while ago that I could actually name my Copilot. And I guess sometimes you just get to say, hey, what name would you like to have? And it will actually come back and tell you, which I think is really cool because I haven't named it yet because I didn't know. I don't know. Who has what? So do you have one named Nancy?
Mine's Ava.
Somebody has one named Nancy. I think that's really cool. I know somebody has one named Marilyn. I love that. So it feels like you're having a conversation. My point being, don't just globally be afraid of AI. It's not going to take over your job. It is going to make you better at what you do. And I think it's very important to talk about using it with intent and making sure that you're using it as a way to assess what is going on.
Well, I think from an organizational standpoint, it's important to look at what are the things I can use it for that's going to benefit. What's the return on investment for my company, right? And utilize it that way. I mean, you can get creative and do all the fun stuff, but actually using it to make your job easier is the way really look at those processes from your day to day, from all the way from leasing all the way through invoicing, whatever you will call it, to see what benefits can you get out of it,
So I admit when I first understood what AI was as a consultant, trainer, policy developer, partner for the industry, it scared the bejeebers out of me because my immediate thought was, this is going to put me out of a job. But what I have learned through use of AI is that as long as you use it to complement what you're doing instead of replacing your judgment and your industry knowledge, because those of us that have been in the industry since the dawn of time realize that the learning curve for understanding affordable housing isn't the kind of thing where you just hunker down with 3 weeks of a PowerPoint and boom, you're a master of affordable housing. So to the extent you can use it, as Corbin said, to efficiently complete some steps of the process, but keep it in check. You are a human with a human functioning mind, which AI will never replace. So as long as you use it, but don't rely on it 100%, and don't, discard the fact that there's that little disclaimer at the bottom of those AI generators that say it makes mistakes and it's not perfect. Now, neither are we, but, we know what we know. Well, not all of us are perfect. But I think if you can embrace it with its limited role, it can definitely help speed up the process for you. But if you rely on it hook, line, and sinker, then you run the risk of not getting the output you want.
So that actually, both of your comments have made me think about another percentage stat as I was reading through that report. And 51% of operators are prioritizing operating expense reduction through technology and automation. And we know in affordable housing, most especially, your efficiencies and reduction in expenses is your return on investment, right? It's not like we can go out there and upcharge our screening and upcharge all of those other things and sell parking spaces and all that, right? We have to get our ROI through technology. And so I think, yes, is there reason to be cautious? Absolutely. Because if you're not using it the right way, it really can be bad. But if you're using it the right way and putting those safeguards in place, I think it truly can be your friend, and it's not going to replace you. It's going to make you better and stronger at what you do.
And I think, Rue, to kind of tie a bow and bring this back around, I come from the operator side for almost 30 years, right? And a fun story is automating my lease files and got them all from paper to full automation, and then leveraging AI to be able to run through those files and help our compliance team be able to see where are the anomalies between the rent roll and all of our files. Where are the anomalies between the different things? And we leveraged our software to be able to help us through that functionality. And I had a compliance director just start crying because she was getting back so many hours of her day. And she's like, I'm getting closer to being able to work an 8-hour day.
That's pretty powerful.
Because none of them get to work an 8-hour day. We all sit in this room. None of us get to work an 8-hour day, especially in affordable housing. But if you automate those files, you can leverage AI to help you find those findings, help find those anomalies very quickly, and use some of those technology partners that will help stack some of that together. So there's some automation there that can really help you internally.
I work an 8-hour day on Saturdays.
Drink to that.
All right. So I think that probably the last thing I want to bring up about AI is another statistic, and the biggest source of frustration out of all the companies that AHF polled for this discussion is resident life cycle. And so conventional housing has been able to lease their apartments and do online leasing for, I don't know, 20 years. As long as that technology has been out there and been available to them, they've been able to take advantage of it. So because we know that, we also think that it feels like the affordable sector has also been able to do this for all those years. But I want to remind you that it's only been 5 years since there was approval for electronic documents and electronic signatures and all of those things, okay? And in that 5-year time span, affordable housing has become more and more and more complex with all of the layers of funding. And so I'm going to just say, give your vendors a little bit of grace. They too are working through all of those things. And I promise you, by the time 15 years comes around, and actually, I'm just kidding, it's going to grow up and it is going to become more mature. But it's across the industry for everybody right now. And so I want to end this by asking you guys, what would you like to see from AI? What would be cool for you with AI in a good world? What would you like? What do you think would work for you? Anybody?
Good evening. My name is Claudia. I'm from the Tampa House.
There we
Authority.
go.
Thank
Drink to her.
Y'all can clap. Y'all need to get up and stretch or something. I'm sorry. So
No,
I
don't
would
be.
like to be the one programming the AI, not teaching the AI how to do my job. So I would like to know, would there be like more innovative ways to train us how to train the computer? Like, I don't want to be the one being trained by the computer. So
You want
want
to be its boss, essentially, right?
Say
You want
that
to be
again?
its boss.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Because I hear you saying that the computer is not going to replace me, but how can I be confident in that and trust in that if I'm not the one controlling the computer? Like when
You want to
when the
control its
calcu-
answers.
No, not control its answers, but control how like I put the input in and understand what I'm doing so it can't do it for me. Like when we got the calculator, you still need the human to put the numbers in to figure out the problem. So I just wanted to be like that. And I could understand that the AI can be helpful and it can be a tool, but I don't want it to think for me.
That's a good one.
I think you have to be very selective about what you rely on it for that purpose.
Mhm.
Because if you ask yourself, hey, am I asking AI to exercise judgment, then maybe that's not what you use AI for. You use AI more for the things that are black and white, concrete, structured types of tasks. Is this form complete? Yes or no? Not, did they answer it truthfully? Right? That's really kind of the distinction there. So knowing its capacity, but also knowing its limitation, you're not going to be able to throw 100% of your tasks in there.
When it comes to the resident life cycle, is there anything anybody would like to see, especially with affordable housing? No one? Your life cycles are perfect? I love this group.
I feel like that question is because just like her talking about it, I feel like there's so much that we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah. One of the things that I would love to see, and I'll just put it out there, is to be able to see from the beginning of the resident life cycle, it pre-qualify the residents and display and show what they actually should be leasing in advance, right? So having some of those functionalities be more seamless and
Yeah.
smooth up front. You give our compliance teams a break.
I agree. Anybody else? Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Stacey. You've been raising your hand for.
I just think like when we talk about AI, there's this fear, like, is AI going to take my job? Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would welcome AI to take any part of my job, right? Like if you want to take like 10
Just the
hours,
third.
it's like take what you want. And I think that we all know that in affordable housing, there are not enough hours in the day. So we are going to have to get like so far down this road for AI to get rid of any of us, right? Like we are all pros in this room. We know it is going to be growing. Like I feel like that is no fear for any of us, that it's going to take our job. It might make our job actually like manageable, right? Where like work-life balance suddenly becomes something that we understand. Maybe I don't
think
know.
drink to that.
Yeah. Well, I tried. But and so I think that it's important. And I also think that as we talk about like how do I prompt AI, number one, I think there's actually you can just tell AI like, hey, can you please help me understand how to create prompts, right? I mean, it's like built into itself if we want to learn more about it. And I also think that our companies like at a higher level will be saying, here's how we're going to use it. Here's how we're going to integrate it. I don't think anyone is expecting someone to say, create AI just for yourself or just for your region or just for your property, right? Like, I think we'll start to see it coming about at maybe like a where, you know, no one's expecting, unless you are like the AI person, they're expecting you to do it. But otherwise, I don't think there's an expectation for someone to say, you need to figure it out for yourself, right? Like we're doing this, I think as companies, as industries. And so it's a little bit easier there. And I know you were talking about technology. I'm sure everyone's tired of hearing me talk, but I've got the mic. So
And she's had 2 drinks, guys.
But I like to just say like baby steps are good too. Like we're this paper industry and we're like, how do we get to paperless, which we know we're going to get there. But like you said, even starting like maybe it's just your company application that's being online.
Right.
That's making sure question number 2 is checked because it won't let you go forward without it. And it is hard for software providers because every state has different forms, has different formats. They update them every single month, right? I mean, there is that whole huge challenge. But if we can say it's just a little bit that we're starting with, like then we are more technologically advanced than we were yesterday.
Cheers to that.
And that wraps up our live Cocktails and Compliance remix from the 2026 SAHMA Leadership Affordable Housing Conference and Trade Show in Biloxi. A big thank you to our moderator, Rue Fox, and our panelists, Sara Hinson, Corbin DuMont, and Jenny DeSilva, for sharing their expertise and perspectives, and to everyone in the room who helped make this such an engaging conversation. One of the best parts of gathering together at SAHMA events is the opportunity to have conversations like this, to ask questions, learn from one another, and talk openly about the challenges and changes shaping affordable housing. Thanks for listening to the SAHMA Exchange, a podcast where policy, people, and property management meet. We'll see you next time.